Hello, Lipscomb community, and welcome to the virtual gathering. Wherever you are in the world, I pray that you and your loved ones are healthy and that you are adjusting well to all of the changes of the last few weeks. As for me, I cannot begin to tell you how much I miss having you here on campus. My husband Nate and I live in Bison Hall, and we've learned just how lonely it is to be here without you. I miss you all a lot, and I constantly think about and pray for you. I know that a lot of you probably feel okay right now, but I also know that a lot of you are struggling. Some of you are mourning the loss of your semester abroad or your final weeks as a college senior. Some of you have been thrust back into toxic relationships or dysfunctional living situations because you can't live on campus. And all of us are trying to cope with the tumultuousness that is the unknown right now. Our world is in a storm, and none of us can control the waves that are slamming against us. The loss of life and the threat of illness, the shifting job markets and the dwindling bank accounts, the anxiety of limited resources and the loneliness of social distancing, the sense that the world is changing forever, but we cannot fathom exactly how. These are big, unmanageable, intimidating realities of our new world. And if you're anything like me, then you frequently wonder, where could God be in all of this? For my Christmas gift a couple months ago, I asked my husband to make me a digital painting for my office wall. I gave him no parameters except that I wanted it to be a fitting backdrop to the conversations I have with students every day. What he painted was a snapshot of the famous scene where Jesus walks on the water during a storm. Before I show you the painting, let me recite to you the passage from Matthew 14, verses 22 to 33. Jesus made the disciples get into the boat and go on ahead of him to the other side while he dismissed the crowd. After he had dismissed them, he went up on a mountainside by himself to pray. Later that night, he was there alone, and the boat was already a considerable distance from land, buffeted by the waves because the wind was against it. Shortly before dawn, Jesus went out to them, walking on the lake. When the disciples saw him walking on the lake, they were terrified. "It's a ghost," they said, and they cried out in fear. But Jesus immediately said to them, "Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid." "Lord," Peter replied, "if it is you, tell me to come to you on the water." "Come," Jesus said. Then Peter got down out of the boat, walked on the water, and came toward Jesus. But when he saw the wind, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, cried out, "Lord, save me!" Immediately, Jesus reached out his hand and caught him. "You of little faith," he said, "why did you doubt?" And when they climbed into the boat, the wind died down. Then those who were in the boat worshipped Jesus, saying, "Truly, you are the Son of God." I had heard this passage countless times, and I immediately recognized it when Nate unveiled the painting he'd made for me. And yet, despite its familiarity, I suddenly saw the story from a whole new perspective, Jesus' perspective. In this snapshot of the scene, the disciples are sitting in the boat in the storm, believing that Jesus had abandoned them. They do not yet see Jesus walking toward them. And yet, Jesus is there, watching over them, preparing them. Even though they don't know it at this moment, Jesus is with them. I hung the painting on my office wall when the semester started in January, with no idea how much courage and comfort I would take from it in the coming months. This story is a promise that we are not alone. Despite our physical separation, we are all in the same boat, and we as a community are battling this storm together. But more importantly, despite the reality that it's sometimes difficult to see it and maybe even to believe it, Jesus is with us. This week, Holy Week, we're in the midst of a dark storm as we approach Jesus' crucifixion on Good Friday. As the disciples watch Jesus die and be sealed up in a tomb, I wonder if they ever recalled Jesus walking on the water in the middle of the storm, saying, It is I. Do not be afraid. Did they experience flutters of hope that it could possibly be true? That even in his own death, Jesus did not abandon them? That the dawn, the calm, the resurrection really could be coming? Can we believe that in the midst of this pandemic today? I think it is okay to feel alone right now. I believe that God understands our confusion and grief. Let us at the same time also hold on to the faith that we are not alone. We're in this together. Your Lipscomb community has not abandoned you, and certainly, God has not abandoned us either.